this thing started. So here's the story that I wanted to share now that we're recording. It's really odd. I actually just sold a condo. I put in an offer for a condo yesterday, and then this past weekend I went to go visit a buddy of mine who just bought a condo up in Austin, and it's unbelievable. I guess I feel like I've been doing a lot of condo stuff lately, and I was like, well, does everybody understand condos? So let's just walk through it, just kind of a general overview of what, at least what I do. I'm definitely not an expert in it. I have not done a lot of them, but you kind of learn as you go. And that condo in Austin was ridiculous. You should have seen that condo in Austin because it was 1,019 square feet, and they paid $650,000 for it.
Dang.
Yeah, it's crazy, crazy numbers. But they're becoming very, very popular. So I wanted to make sure everybody's aware of this as I attempt to share my screen and as we go forward. Okay. So yeah, it was crazy, but it was really cool because the condo, they pretty much had all the walls, the exterior walls were facing out towards, they were all sliding glass doors. So pretty much it was floor to ceiling glass. And they literally overlooked the governor's mansion, and we're across the street from the Capitol. Amazing location, very beautiful, but God, $650,000 for 1,000 square feet, a lot of money.
That is crazy.
So I wanted to talk about what a condo is and what we have to do to get this thing done. So this is a condo that I'm sending in, and this is actually a deal that I sent in yesterday to see if we can get this thing sold or buy this for my client. But just as a reminder, what a condo is not a building like a condominium high rise is. But whenever you go to buy a condo, you're not actually buying the building. You're buying the space between the walls. You don't actually technically own the building. You just own a square or a cube rather of air, depending on where it is within that condo. So because that you're basically buying air, every single condo has some sort of management structure with it, like an HOA or something along those lines. They can vary quite a bit, and it's not really with the scope of what I was thinking about when it comes into this, about how they all go, because there's you can have HOAs, you can have voluntary HOAs within it, you can have what's the one, a co-op, you can do a co-op. There's a lot of different ways to do condos. But what I wanted to cover today is kind of what you need to look for and what you need to do if you're submitting an offer on a condo or selling a condo. Selling a condo is actually pretty easy. It's just the same as doing an MLS. It's just different paperwork that's coming into you. I just sold one in the condo. I literally did nothing else except when I was in the MLS. Maybe I should show this real quick. If you're listing one, when you go to list, you just have to say and let them know that it is a condo. Now, when you know that it is a condo and there's an HOA involved in it, the HOA sheet is very helpful to put in there. For those of y'all that don't know what I'm talking about, track HOA. HOA, what do they call it? Information form. There we go.
That's the part that I hate in track is the HOA stuff, because sometimes it's really hard to find a profile sheet or even the information for an HOA.
Thank you. That's what I was thinking of, was the profile sheet.
Yeah, like it's really hard, I feel like, sometimes to even like find that information, and a lot of times I feel like the sellers don't even have it, but they require you an MLS to put that information in.
So if you're putting a listing, the best thing you can do is just call the HOA. HOAs are really tough to deal with sometimes because, like, I'm the president of our HOA association, and the people within my neighborhood have my cell phone number. But I got to be honest with you, I couldn't fill this out for my own HOA. I mean, I could get pretty close, but there's certain things that, you know, you're going to want to talk to the people that are running the actual HOA. So we actually have a management company called AAM that does ours. And with HOAs, pretty much a lot of them, especially condos, there will be somebody that is on that property. Like there's going to be some sort of management company, something like that. But you probably are going to play a lot of phone tag. So just be patient, stay on top of it. But yes, you do have to do this, and Homeowners Property Owners Association profile form. You need to put this in with your MLS listing. That's about the only different thing, except for you just want to make sure that if I'm adding a new listing, you want to make sure that you mark it as a condo so people understand what they're getting into, that they're not actually owning a, which ones I sold? How do I do this? Where am I at? Sold. Hopefully this will put it in some sort of order. But as you can see, all these different codes right here, guys, this is saying it's real estate, real estate, real estate, real estate. And the condo one should be in here somewhere. There it is, condo. So this is the condo that I just recently sold for $87,000, a little 1-1. But the one that we're about to buy is what I really want to talk about today. And so we're going to go from there. So the first thing that we're putting an offer in on the condo, you do not use a 1-to-4 family because it is not a 1-to-4 family thing. You are going to find the residential contract form. So, and then also notice this right here, guys, not for use where seller owns a fee simple title to the land beneath it. That's a completely different transaction, and I'm not even going to get into all that today. But what you're looking for is if you're buying a condo, you want the residential condominium contract. For the most part, a lot of it is very, very similar. So we're going to put the buyers and the sellers. The property description changes a little bit with condos. They want to know what unit you're talking to and what building. So sometimes with condos, they've got multiple buildings, and your actual property description isn't quite as important because, like I said, once again, you're buying a cube of air. You're not necessarily buying the ground. So pay attention to how we fill this thing out. So unit B in building 1 of number 104, a condominium project located at this address. They're not actually asking for the property description. So pay attention because that's going to be how we identify the property. And then also parking areas assigned. This I think is really funny because in condominium things, a lot of people have assigned parking. With your assigned parking, you need to make sure you put that in here. Now there is no assigned parking at this particular unit, so there was nothing to put in there. Exclusion, same as the 1-to-4. What does not come with the condo? We're going to be taking out the chandeliers. You don't get to keep the stove, whatever it might be. Where this changes quite a bit is the buyer has received a copy of the documents when it comes to the declarations, bylaws, and rules of the association. So this is a non-negotiable. Again, a condominium will have some sort of entity that helps run it and keeps the peace. It's going to have to because there's too many different owners in the same building. Somebody's got to take care of the building, meaning you will have some sort of HOA fee. You will have some sort of maintenance fee, whatever it might be called. So in here, the declaration, bylaws, and rules of the association are called documents. That's the word, right? So the buyer has received a copy of the documents. What I always look for when I'm looking at a listing is, did they put it, I wonder if I did on my one that I sold. I couldn't even tell you if I did. Boy, how bad is that? I should have. But when you go to the additional information, this is Sabor. I did put the HOA profile sheet in there, but you can also put the documents, which are the full bylaws. It tends to be pages upon pages upon pages. So I did put in the HOA profile sheet, but not the bylaws. She did send me the bylaws. I probably just got lazy and didn't put them up there. I do remember getting them from her, but I don't remember putting them in there, obviously. So if it's not in there, I'm going to say, hey, look, you've got 10 days, 5 days, whatever it is. I think 10 is pretty reasonable. But if you notice, there's no option to not get the bylaws. You have to get them one way or the other. A resale certificate for the condo association, also called the certificate. Again, this was not uploaded. The resale certificate, let me get one in here. Actually, did I put one in here? I think I did one just so I could look at it. No. This is going to have all the nitty gritty details of what the fees associated with this are. So a lot of times title will order this for you. Sometimes you can fill it out. Regardless, since I'm trying to buy this one and she hasn't done it for me, I'm basically telling her, you've got 10 days to get this to me. And again, it's all the nitty gritty about the charges, what they cover, what's going on. And this usually goes hand in hand with the bylaws. So it's talking about exactly which unit we're talking about, the common expenses. What I like to do is I usually ask the HOA to fill this out for me. I basically don't want to screw it up. I don't want to be on the wrong on this thing. And then it's got the name of the association and who can fill this out. Notice nobody has to sign this. So it's not imperative that it's filled out by your seller. Your seller might not even know all this information. That's why I like to go to either the management association or whoever's running the thing, ask them, can you please fill this out for me? And they're used to it. That's what they do. It's just kind of part of it. That's why when you pay those transfer fees, that's what you get with it. Where am I at? What am I doing? Oh, I'm back here. So that's the certificate. So we do need a resale certificate. I usually have the people that know the most about it do it. So you want to make sure you get the resale certificate. It was not listed in the page, so I did 10 days with it. Give me 10 days after you accept this contract. the next one in here. If the documents reveal the property is subject to a right of refusal under which association or member of the association, blah, 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 blah. Sometimes condos have the right of refusal for somebody else to buy it. This gets really, to me, this always happens in really high dense populations, like New York City or something like that. Maybe Houston or Dallas will have something where they will offer like, hey, look, I'll sell you the condo, but I want right of first refusal should you decide to sell it, so they can buy it back. A lot of people tend to try and keep these things in the family for a long time. And so that's basically what this means. So if the buyer does not receive the association certificate within 10 days of the effective date of this contract, I need to know if we're getting this thing, if there's anybody with a right of first refusal, can the condo association buy it back? Can somebody else that previously owned it buy it back? I need to know all of that stuff, and you've got 10 days. So I basically said, you got 10 days to get me all the documents that we need going forward. The sale price, same as anything else. Earnest money, y'all know how to fill that one out if you've watched the 1 to 4 so far. Termination option. Yes, guys, you can go in there and inspect this place. You're going to have to realize what is going to be liable for the owner to repair and what's liable for the condo association to repair. So things like roofs tend to be covered by the association because that's going to be communal. It's going to cover multiple people. When you send an inspector out there, he may or may not check the roof. But things like the fixtures, the toilets, does the toilet work properly? Does the air conditioner work properly? Those are all individual to that unit. So you do want to have an inspection period. Don't just assume that the condo association is going to make sure this whole thing runs beautifully. Title policy, y'all should know what that is. Another interesting thing that I want to make sure that I did point out on this one is a lot of times people will buy condos and use them for Airbnbs, VRBO, short-term rentals. And that's what my client wanted to do. You should always, if your client plans on living in something, put residential use in the objections. Every once in a while, there's something weird that comes out. And by the way, this all comes out with the title commitment. So when the title commitment comes out, you're going to read through it saying, hey, you can't live here. This can only be a business. Okay, that means you can't use it for residential use. And the other thing I really want to know is when I get the bylaws and everything, I want to make sure that the short-term rentals are okay. I'm pretty sure they are because I know they're doing it, but I still need 5 days once I get the title commitment to make sure we're good on all that. Seller's disclosures, guys, they had the seller's disclosures on there. That is still important. That has to be done. Same thing as acceptance of property condition. We're saying buying the property as is because we do have a termination. We do have a option period termination clause. Residential service contract, we've talked about that before. We do have to disclose, I am the brother-in-law of the buyer. The buyer is my brother-in-law and sister, so I need to actually add that in there. I didn't know if he wanted my sister on there or not. The closing of the sale, closing date, possession, closing and funding, all of that should be pretty easy. Settlement and other expenses, watch the 1 to 4 on that. I'm going to go pretty quick because there's more forms. This is talking about with the HOA, because there's going to be an HOA in here. It's $350 that we will pay up to $350. Anything over that, the seller shall pay for. I know that it's $350 because when I went in here, if the agent fills out the listing correctly, so HOA fee and frequency, it's $350 a month, and it's $200 to transfer it. But there's actually 2 HOAs in this one because you have the HOA for the community and then the HOA for the condo. So the total transfer fees are going to be $350. And that's why I put that number in there. If something shows up and it's more than $350, the seller's going to pay for that. Yada, yada, yada. Please put in your additional stuff. So we are going to have a third-party financing addendum. Y'all should know what that is. There is a non-realty items addendum that's going with this because they're going to sell it fully furnished. The addendum concerning the right to terminate due to lender's appraisal because they are going conventional.
Yeah, you already have that in there. You have that already in there. There's an option on the bottom left.
Is there? Oops. Oh, looky there. Well, I did it twice.
Well, it doesn't hurt to have it twice. Do you need one for HOA?
Say that one more time.
Do you need to do one for HOA?
You don't need to do one for HOA.
On a condo?
Right, for that separate the property. Now, I did on this one, I'm pretty sure.
Like just as a
No, I did not. So you don't need to do this because it's not in there. And I think the form actually says that. Hold on a second. I think it says it at the top that it's not for use in condos.
It's probably because like you already kind of cover that in the contract.
Exactly. No. Because I think that one, I think it even says it at the top. Yeah, not for use of condominiums.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. So you don't need to use that one because you're right, because it's already in, it's within the contract. And then I sent them my third-party financing addendum. Y'all know what that one looks like. Go back and watch that. It's exactly the same. Just putting in the address, making sure that they understand. And since it is conventional, if you remember FHA, I can put in this FHA required provision, which has to do with the appraised value. But since I'm conventional, it doesn't have that. I actually added in this extra form saying, hey, look, if it does not appraise for $295, then we're going to back out because we don't want to have to come up with any more money.
Right.
So, oh, and then I also did a non-realty items addendum. So they are selling this one. This I think is a little bit important because I think a lot of people miss this one. They in the listing, it does say that they're selling it furnished. So let me see. See, it says this condo is currently in the stay and play rental program. Where does it say it in here? It said it in here somewhere. I could have swore. Or maybe just when I was talking to her, she said it was coming fully furnished. So when something is sold fully furnished, some people will try and put it in the special provisions part of the contract. That's not what special provisions is for. The non-realty items addendum. Now, this is a very lazy way to do this, but I did not have time to get over there. Technically, you should catalog everything that's in there. The painting on this wall, the this, the that. Because it is fully furnished and they said they're selling it down to the coffee machine, like everything in there. I didn't want to have to go through there and say 12 forks, 13 knives, you know what I mean? Which you should technically do. But he did stay there in that stay and play program on 6.5. So I said, all chattel present during the buyer stay on this day. Is there any way for me to really check that? No. But the reason why you want to put it in here is because any contract in the state of Texas has to have valuable consideration in exchange for something. I can't put that in the contract because it's not considered real estate. I can't put the toaster in special provisions. Like I'm buying your house with the toaster. You can't put that in special provisions because there's no valuable consideration for the thing that is not real estate. That contract's for real estate. This contract is for stuff. So I just said $1 and all the good and valuable consideration. Yeah, go ahead.
I always do a non-realty items addendum just in case. Like, so even if the stove and certain things are going to technically convey, I always still put it in there anyway, just to 100% there's no questions or issues. But I don't know if I was doing it correct in the past, but I never put $1. I always just put NA because I was like, I'm not going to be charged. They're not going to charge for it if it's already part of the transaction. But am I supposed to put $1?
You got to put in whatever it might be. It's always been my understanding that there has to be valuable consideration. Okay. So there's got to be something. You can't, because then you have a receipt basically. So when this contract goes through, it's like, no, I paid you $1 for that. So there was consideration, not a misunderstanding. It's always been my understanding you need to put a dollar amount, whatever it is. I put in $1 just because I didn't want to throw a whole bunch on there. And then the other problem with this is, guys, let's say, I offered, I don't know if you saw, it's like basically $300,000 for this condo. So we offered $300,000 for the condo, but probably $50,000 of it's worth of stuff. So one of the things I don't want to do to my buyer is say, hey, we're going to buy the condo for $250,000 and we're going to change this number to $50,000. Because the problem with that immediately is when this contract goes through, they're not going to be able to get financing for that $50,000. That means you're going to pay $50,000 out of pocket at closing. So be careful how much money you put in there because it won't be financeable unless it's in the first part of the contract and unless it appraises for that.
So whatever amount is in here is just the amount that the buyer has to bring to closing in cash because the lender will not pay for it.
Correct. So if there's a refrigerator for $350 and you put $350 in here, that $350 will not be rolled into the loan. That's going to be outside the transaction. It'll be in the same transaction, but it'll be outside the lending.
It'll be listed on the HUD, but that would just be the amount added towards what the buyer has to bring to closing, correct?
Correct. 100% correct. So that's it. So I sent this contract in yesterday. I called the lady this morning. I'm waiting to see what's going down. And after this point, it's going to run just like a typical contract. When she says, boo, I got 10 days to get all this stuff together, and I'm going to be staying on her rear end about making sure that she gets me the certificate and the documents, the bylaws and all that stuff. So I got to stay on top of it, make sure she turns all that in so we can be ready to go. So that's it. It's actually pretty easy. It's just different forms. I think everybody gets confused that they're trying to use the 1-4 and you can't do that. You got to use this one and make sure you add on whatever you need to with all the HOA stuff. So that's it. Condos, condos, condos. Did you see this one here? I think it's a gorgeous condo. Fully furnished.
Oh yeah, it's really pretty.
Yeah, and it overlooks the golf course. I used to live out here at this golf course, so yeah, it's not a bad view.
Is he planning to live there or just keep it as like an Airbnb?
So it's my sister and brother-in-law, and my parents live out there at the same golf course. So when they come into town, they need somewhere to stay. And he was like, he's been looking to buy some more real estate. And he said, why don't I buy this? And you know what I mean? I can stay there when I'm there and we can rent it out short term in the meantime.
That's cool. It's really
That's
nice.
pretty decent. It's pretty big too. How many square feet was it? 1,600 square feet. So, ta-da. Well, thanks for coming, Hillary.
Yeah, thanks. I try and make it. I couldn't the last 2 Wednesdays. I was just something came up and I just couldn't be there. But I'll try and be here whenever I can be.
I appreciate it. I know. I feel like sometimes I get a bunch of people. Sometimes I have hardly anybody. But it is what it is. I know we're all working, but that's why they're all saved on YouTube when we're all said and done.
Well, awesome. Well, thank you.
You got it.